Hi, this is Rob, and this is a video series on making drum rims with diagonal slats of wood. I did a part one a few weeks ago, and if you look at the top, you'll see a link to that video if you want to watch that one first, though that one's more conceptually design, and this one is more about the actual construction. When we finished the previous video, I had made my first ring, and it did not come out great, but I saw potential in how I could improve it and make it much better. So I'm going to start out this video making another ring. So changes I'm making for this glue up. My pressure plate, or the donut I talked about last video, I cut slots in that so that when I clamp it down, it'll give more even pressure. I'm also gluing up both sides of the slat when I put it down. When you apply the glue, it absorbs into the wood somewhat, so it becomes tacky instead of wet like it was before. So if I do both sides, that tackiness works much better, whereas if it's only on one side, it never has a chance to absorb on the back side. And finally, my slats are much more consistent for these ones. Originally, when I did the first ring, I was trying a lot of different things to get the slats to work out exactly right. And in the end, I had many different slats. They weren't identical. So for these last two slats, I did them all at once, the same method, and they're very consistent now for this glue up. Now, if you're watching the video, what I'm actually doing, I'm about to realize that I made a mistake here, though I didn't know what the mistake was at first. When I do this without the camera running, I work from where the camera is, not on the back side like I am now. I test fit every single piece, make sure it's good, lay it out, glue it up, and put them in. Well, I test fit it and laid them out, and then I put the camera in place and I went to the other side to start working. So without thinking it through, I was working everything upside down. So if you notice that I normally didn't glue the top ½ inch or so because it's not needed, that part sticks out. Well, that suddenly should be the bottom. So I had to re-glue that little spot that I missed and flip everything over so that the thin part of the wedge is the inside and the thick part of the outside, so it actually made sense and worked for the glue up. And that comes back to the reason I don't like to shoot video of me running the table saw or other dangerous things. I need to concentrate on running the table saw and not on getting the best view for the angle, not getting in front of the lens, things like that. So very rarely will you see me running a table saw in a video because it's scary enough without a camera, and then not concentrating on the table saw is a bad thing to do. I'd already mentioned before how I added slots into my donut so I can clamp and give more even pressure without anything slipping. So here's another photo of that, and once again I have to say this worked much better. And here I am putting the donut on, and it's obvious already at this second, it's already lined up, matches perfectly. The more pressure I put, it's consistent even, nothing's going to slide out of place. This works so much better. And like the last time, I'm going to use 8 clamps on this. So after it's clamped, all there is left to do is let it sit overnight, and tomorrow we will unclamp and see how it comes out. I added this picture just to show the gap between the donut and the jig. And if you were to look around the whole jig, it is consistent all the way around. So it is very even clamping pressure. And now for the moment of truth, unclamping. When I built the jig, I added these extensions on the outside to get it to the right height for all the clamping. And each one of those is held in by 2 screws. So for the unclamping process, I'm undoing all the screws, taking those off. I might need to tap them once or twice to get the glue to release, and then I'll have just the jig and the ring. And I'll do a few more taps to get the ring to release from the jig, and it should pop right out. And the next step is to clamp it down to the CNC and surface both the top and the bottom so we have a consistent, smooth surface on both sides. And after surfacing the top and the bottom of the blank, you can see what we have here. I am very happy. Nice, tight, clean glue up. We'll spend a few minutes to look at the design software and how I actually design the rims in the toolpath settings. Basic shape of the rim, outside edge, inside edge, obviously. This is a two-sided project, so I can flip to the front, the top and the bottom real easy. And let's start showing things. Obviously this line we're going to cut out on the inside edge, outside edge. I'm going to be using a roundover tip. And when we do a roundover, it's a V-point with a rounded edge. I'll show a picture of that in a second. I actually cut on the outside of that so that the point does not leave a tattletale mark on it on the outside and inside edge. And also around the pockets for the tension rods. I'm going to put an edge there. Put the lug holes there. You can see it's on the inside of that edge. So again, that point won't leave a mark there. That'll be the hole for the tension rods to go through in little pockets so they get recessed in. And on the bottom side, actually that's for the bottom, we'll talk about that later. So that's pretty much most of it on the inside, on the design of the lines. Let's flip to the bottom here. And there's a lip on the inside or the bottom of a drum rim to catch that, the drum head. There's an outside edge that will catch there. And this again is the cutout edge where it cuts out. On the bottom side, we cut out a slot here for the snare wires to go through. I'll be more obvious in a minute. That's the two sides. Let's go ahead and go over to the tool paths. We'll do a 3D rendering of this. Okay, let's do a preview. We'll let everything cut out. It'll take just a second. I'll probably speed this up a little bit. Okay, so all done now. I will remove the edges. This is the bottom. I mentioned the lip that the snare head fits into and the cutout for the snare wires. And I'll flip it over. On the outside edge, as a roundover bit, I mentioned that a second ago, a roundover bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, what that is. That's a 1/4-inch roundover. Just got the pointy edge here, the point there. And like I said, I want that point always to be a little bit outside the wood area so it doesn't leave a mark there. It's only 1/100 of an inch or so is all it takes. So it's a 1/4-inch round over here. There's a tiny 1/8-inch round over here and on the inside edge of the drum there. Make more sense when we're looking at that in the CNC cutting it out. And there's the lip where the tension rod goes through and it'll actually catch there. So it's all recessed. So when you're hitting the drumstick, the tension rod won't stick out there. It sits inside that pocket. That's about all we really need to see on the design software. So let's head out to the CNC machine. So back to the CNC, the first step is to clamp the outside edge of the rim and cut the lip that the drum head will fit in eventually. This step is to drill the tension rod holes. This is called a pecking tool bath. The bit will go down a little bit into the hole, retract out to get rid of the sawdust, and keep going down a little further each step. It's a good way of keeping the heat down and keeping the sawdust out of the hole as you're drilling. When I eventually flip this over so I can cut the top out, I will use those tension rod holes to align it to holes I drilled in the spoil board so it matches up in the exact right spot. From the bottom side of the rim, the final step will be to cut out the inside edge. For these steps, it's been clamped on the outside edge of the rim, but once I flip it over, I'll clamp from the inside edge of the rim. Now we're working from the top side of the rim, and the first tool path is to cut the outside edge. In the past, I've done it where it's a stepped approach, where it'll go down, say, 1/8 of an inch, go around an edge, drop another 1/8 of an inch, go a loop. But recently, I've been doing this as a spiral toolpath where it goes down more like a thread on a bolt. I found this gives me a little cleaner finish in the end. This toolpath is cutting a pocket on the top of the rim so that the tension rod head will fit inside the rim. This toolpath is where we'll put the 1/4-inch roundover on the outside edge of the rim. I talked about this before, how the point won't quite be to the edge of the rim, so it won't leave that tattletale tool mark. These next two tool paths, I'll be doing the 1/8 inch roundover on the inside of the pocket for the tension rods, and then I will be doing the inside edge of the rim. If you'll note right now, I've got it clamped from the inside of the rim, but when I want to cut the tool path from the inside of the rim, of course, I'll have to switch the clamps to the outside so it won't run into the clamps when it's cutting out that edge. For the final bit of CNC work, I have flipped the rim back over, so this is the bottom side of one of the rims. This is the bottom rim, and I'm cutting the slots out for the snares to go through. I've got one shot here from the angle we've been using, and I'll do another shot from the side to see it from a different angle. And here are some final shots of the rims. My goal is to get these out and used in actual performances so I can get feedback on both sound quality and durability. I really appreciate it if you've made it this far in the video. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you and have a great day.